if I'll first understand what it is God wants from my life, I'll figure everything else out. The fear of the Lord, the first step to wisdom is the fear of the Lord. In wisdom, you can get everything. Hey, if I'll understand what God wants from my life, I can have anything. So that's the wisdom. So let's get started. Every week when we meet here at 7 a.m. on Wednesdays, every time you show up, whatever day that is, whatever the date of that Wednesday, we'll read that proverb of the day. So, all right, verse 1, God hates cheating in the marketplace. Man, the first thing that he comes out in this whole chapter is talking about being a good businessman. God hates cheating in the marketplace. He hates people that raise money and don't keep their word. He hates people that take money and break their promise. He hates people that, that sell a bag of weed for 7 grams and turns out it's only 5, right? That's dishonest scales. He doesn't like that. That's anger in the marketplace. But here's what he says on top of that. And the two of these go together so well. The stuck up fall flat on their faces, but down to earth people stand firm. So what he's saying is you'd have to be some level of stuck up to want to cheat in the marketplace anyway. You'd think you're better than someone's the only reason you cheat them. Why else would I cheat somebody? You don't cheat somebody you think's better than you. Nobody goes and, it's rare that these guys steal money from billionaires because they know they won't get away with it. And so that's in any industry. I'm not talking about anybody specifically. I'm just saying in any industry. They know they can't go steal from the people with the big war chest because they could turn it around on them. So they have to have some level of narcissism and being stuck up in order to cheat somebody in the first place. And God hates that. But see, here's the thing, like when it says down to earth people stand firm, that's just means that you're grounded, is basically what this is saying, that you're grounded in God. Right? Because if I have wisdom and I know that, hey, I'm supposed to do what God wants for my life, then all this is saying is, hey, truly people that understand what God wants for their life, they're not stuck up. They don't, because God don't want us to think we're better than people so that we can cheat them. God doesn't want us to go rip off people in the marketplace. That breaks a chain, by the way. If I'm doing business with John and we got good business going and it's good, honest business, and then Michelle comes in and she's doing business through John, and then John's doing business for me, then Drewby comes in and he's doing business for Michelle, and they all 4 of us got good business. Then Travis comes in over here and he steals. Now all of a sudden Drewby can't trust Michelle because Travis just broke his heart and he's stealing. And then she's like, well, man, maybe John and Ryan are involved in this. It breaks a whole chain. That's why God doesn't like it, because it doesn't just mess up the person that was stolen from and the person that was stealing's life. There's a whole ripple effect of people that suffer. So the integrity of the honest keeps them on track, and the devoutness of crooks brings them to ruin. And by the way, Solomon talks about this stuff a lot, being honest. That's why it's one of my core values. Because if you'll have true integrity, and it's not integrity because I want to honor John, or integrity because I want to honor Jose, it's integrity because I got the wisdom to understand God doesn't reward a liar. The devil might reward you for a short period of time, but God's not going to reward a lie, because it's not a magnification of what's possible. It's a magnification of a fabrication. Think about this is the wisdom of this, the common sense. Hey, if you steal, that's a short-lived game. It's going to be the end of you. How many times have you seen that with people that you grew up with, people in the news, people in other industries, people in your own industry? Every day, no matter what your job is, you can look on Google and type in roofer fraud, insurance fraud, mortgage fraud, and somebody in your industry is always going out. But man, they were on top for a minute. But the wise know that wealth and long-term success is built day by day, not overnight. A thick bankroll is no help when life falls apart, but a principled life can stand up to the worst. Listen, if I have zero money, and I need help, it's only my character that I can rely on for people to want to help me. If I have zero assets and nothing else, all I have is my character to make a promise to pay back. Have I been an honest person in the marketplace? Am I an integrity person? So when all money's gone, it's our character. How many people do we know that they got money and their character went out the window? And now things are tightening up a little bit. Money's not flowing so much, and now they don't got character or money. Oh man, that's complete moral and financial bankruptcy. We see it happen every day. We see people, athletes, rappers, influencers, they start to make a little money and all of a sudden they do exactly what we're talking about here. They think they're better than everybody else. They make bad decisions, and within a matter of a time, they break their character, they break their integrity, and now they're completely out of touch and out of money because of the way that they acted. Because here's the thing about a thick bankroll. It's good, we all need money. Air, money, everything else, right? Like, and on this planet, you can add God to the top of that list, but on this planet, air, money, everything else costs money. But here's the thing about money. Money's a magnifier. The more that we have of it, the more it reveals who we are. Why? Because the more you get of it, the less that you have to hide, right? If I all of a sudden become rich, I don't have to hide that I'm an asshole anymore because I've got the money to do whatever, and you got to be at my beck and call. That's how a lot of people think. You know, so if somebody's a good person like me, it's crazy. When I don't have money, I'm not a very nice person. When I didn't have money, I sold drugs, I committed crimes, I went to prison, all these things. As soon as I start getting money, I give to charities, I help businesses, I help people grow their businesses, we're helping stimulate the economy, right? Money turns out as a magnifier. I was really a good guy all along, I just lacked the resources to prove that to the world. But for a lot of people, if you don't understand God's calling on your life and the wisdom that's needed in your life, then when you get money, you'll only turn into one of these people that winds up with nothing in the end. See, the Bible talks about money more than any other subject, by the way. A lot of people say, oh, you shouldn't mix, money into, like literally talks about money more than any other subject. And it talks about money more than Jesus. Because it's got the Old Testament before Jesus was even around, and they had to talk about money through all that too. You don't get to be a king. You don't get to get 350 women and do international trade and all that stuff without money. So if it was the number one topic in the Bible, it should probably be pretty important to us too. I know a lot of churches and organizations, they say, oh, you shouldn't talk about money, blah, blah, blah. That's because they're scared to ask for it. I'm not here to ask for it. I'm here to encourage you to go out there and make it. Right? I mean, that's the whole point of this, so that you have wisdom and understanding so that you can go out there and make it. So moral character makes for a smooth traveling. An evil life is a hard life. Man, I met a guy the other day, last week, he spoke at our event, Andre Norman. Great dude, okay? This guy's got great moral character. At one time, he's like literally like a Saul that turned to Paul. He was this horrible dude, stabbing people in prison, tried to kill 8 people, was probably successful a few times they didn't catch him for, shot caller in the penitentiary, just all around horrible dude that in an instant God called on his life and he answered the call. Deion Sanders said, God called, collect, and I accepted. Because when God calls, he always calls collect. Because you're going to have to pay a price for whatever it is he's asking you to do. And so God calls him collect. Now this man used to step on compounds when he was so bad in state prison, they transferred him to federal prison, and then the feds sent him back and said, he's your problem. And in an instant, one day, not reading the Bible, not nothing, said he got a message. God told him to get his shit together and go to Harvard, serving 105 years in prison. He went to Harvard. He's out. He's my friend. And I say that because now this guy, because of his character and because of his moral character, can walk in any maximum security prison in the country, probably the planet, and open every locked door in there and tell the fools to come out, and they'll listen to him because he has nothing to hide. He couldn't do that when he was evil. Everybody in there would have tried to stab him. Now he's the guy that solved the riot in South Carolina where 7 people were killed not too long ago. They called him in. They'd been locked down for 13 months. He told them to open every door. They said, you're going to die if we open the door. They'll kill you and each other. And he solved the whole problem. Why? Because moral character makes for traveling smooth anywhere. And that's the greatest example of that I can think about. And that's just somebody I met in the last week. Good character is the best insurance. Boy, ain't that the truth. Crooks get trapped in their sinful lusts. One of the things Solomon talks about a lot is getting caught up in lust, right? He had a lot of women, so you can imagine that's something that he struggled with a lot. That's something that, 350, I don't even know how you deal with that. You know what I mean? I got a wife and daughter, and they're always bossing me around, telling me to do stuff around the house. I can only imagine 350 people getting together. I ain't seen them in 3 months. I can only imagine, And he suffered a lot of that. But here's the thing. He got trapped in that lust, and that ultimately, if you read Ecclesiastes, was his one downfall, his weakness that he said. I've seen a lot of guys get a lot. Jose knows too. We've coached a lot of people over the years that have gotten money and then gotten divorced and given all that money and all that success back because of sinful lust. One night with one chick and one decision because you had too many glasses of alcohol, and poof, it's gone. Kids hate you, everything else. When the wicked die, that's it. The story's over. End of hope. A good person is saved from much trouble. A bad person runs straight into it. The loose tongue of the godless spread destruction. The common sense of the godly preserves them. When it goes well for good people, the whole town cheers. When it goes badly for bad people, the town celebrates. Think about that. What Solomon's trying to define here in this particular chapter is the difference between a person with good character and a person with bad character. He's given you contrast, right? A good person is saved from trouble. Bad person keeps running into it. I had a lady in here yesterday, nice lady. She ain't paid a registration for her car. She pulls up and gets a cops in the parking lot writing her ticket, right? So I can see on the camera in my room, I'm like, well, that's my 11 o'clock appointment with the police behind them, because I've got like an eye in the sky type of Vegas style camera in my office. And I see her out there with the police. She's 9 months behind on her mortgage payment. She's five years behind on the registration to this vehicle that she just got pulled over in. She's been driving this thing for 5 years with no inspection, no registration. I'm like, I don't even know how you do that. And then she's here because she's got this other problem that she's trying to get me to solve before. I'm trying to buy a house from her is the whole point of this. She's got a house I'm trying to get my hands on. But this is a person that just keeps running into trouble after trouble after trouble, you know? And it's like, man, it's like, I told her, I said, but have you ever thought that like you're 9 months behind on your mortgage payment and you're 5 years behind on your registration? You told me your third ticket, you're lucky you didn't go to jail. And you're out here trying to, you told me your electricity's off and everything else. Have you ever thought about just trying to do things the right way? Have you ever thought about just going and getting a job and starting your life all over? She in here talking about the shit you deal with foreclosure people. She said, well, I'm trying to start a business that fits alongside the Agenda 2030 so that I don't get wiped out by the Illuminati. I'm like, lady, you're 9 months behind. You better hope you don't get wiped out by Bank of America, But this is the thing. She kept running into that trouble because she's avoiding doing the right thing. It's that simple. Meanwhile, let me tell you the other side of that story, and this isn't to brag, but this is just God's honest blessing. Meanwhile, I'm on the receiving end of the benefit of her mistakes because I'm buying a house from her with 25 acres for $1.9 million that's worth somewhere between $3 and $4 million once I'm done with it. So I'm going to be the receiver because I am a person of, and I'm not sitting here patting myself on the back, but because I've done my best to be a person of good value, I'm receiving the inheritance of someone that didn't do their life right. My cars are registered. My taxes are paid. My houses are up to date with the mortgages that I have on them. So I get to be the receivership of the good side of this, whereas she pissed it all away because she keeps running into trouble. That's just a great example. That's like literally yesterday as well. All right. When right living people bless the city, it flourishes. Evil talk turns it into a ghost town in no time. We're seeing that in America right now in real time. End of story. Mean-spirited slander is heartless. Quiet discretion accompanies good sense. Man, I had to really take this one to heart, guys. This has been a big one for me. Drewby and these guys have been with us for a long time. We get raked over the coals a lot in this industry. We're responsible for people's success and their good times and bad times and all this stuff that we really have to deal with. And I legitimately could probably go on social media every day and have validation to talk about somebody who's done us wrong or who's not acting right or done other members wrong or didn't fulfill their thing or the crazy lady in the parking lot story I just told you. I could do that every single day. But quiet discretion keeps me from doing that. Because people can change and come back, and if you burn a bridge, it sure is hard to reconstruct it. It costs a lot of money if nothing else. But number two is because nobody wants to, I always say this, train wrecks, you watch them on YouTube. If the train crashes in front of you out here on the railroad tracks, you'll watch it, but you're not going to buy a ticket to the train wreck. They're not going to sell you tickets to the train wreck and you pay premium money to go watch trains crash into each other. That's not a thing that we're interested in. So if you're out there always talking stuff, whether it's slander or not, always being the victim, always having problems, I have a fitness influencer guy that over the last couple of years, he was a friend of mine, still is, but every single post he makes on Instagram is talking down about somebody else or some organization or government or something. At some point, you don't always have to be complaining because people say, hey man, I don't want that in my life. Quiet discretion. Hey man, it's okay that we're not happy with the government. We're not happy with certain things, this, that, and the other. But if we keep that to ourselves or we keep it private between people that matter, not public affairs. Because gossip, you know what it is. If somebody starts gossiping, they're gossiping about you when you're not around too. It's that simple. Without good direction, people lose their way. Good direction obviously comes from God. The more wise counsel you follow, the better your chance. This is why you gotta have a mentor in your life. Board of directors, mentor, somebody pouring into you. It's why you're here. I'm glad you guys are here. I'm glad that I get to play some sort of small role in being that for you. Whoever makes deals with stranger is sure to get burned. But you keep a cool head, you'll avoid rash bargains. Man, we can all just take a reminder of this. Like that's basically Solomon's way of saying, if it sounds too good to be true, it is. If it sounds too good to be true, don't rush into it. I say this, I thought a lot of these strangers, and look, I've been blessed on some deals and I've been screwed on other deals. That's just part of being a VC and a guy that invests in different deals. And that's just what I do. And I understand that. But man, I made the mistake in the past to think if I invest in John, and I never have, so this is a made up scenario, but if I invest with John here and I put $100,000 in, I thought we were friends. I thought you weren't a stranger no more. I thought that made us friends, but they don't necessarily see that the same way. They still see you as strangers. You're just a stranger that gave them money at that point. This was a great reminder of that for me. It's like, oh shit, you can make money, and strangers turn into friends, but you just got to remember, are you viewing them as a friend and that's a reciprocal thing? Or are you viewing them as a friend and they're viewing you as a stranger that invested in their deal or whatever the case may be? A woman of gentle grace gets respect, but men of rough violence grab a loot, God-shaped life. When you're kind to others, you help yourself. When you're cruel to others, you hurt yourself. That's one of those, you give what you get back. That's karma at its finest right there. Bad work gets paid with a bad check. Good work gets solid pay. Think about that. Like I have a house that we're building in Oklahoma. Guy's been driving me nuts. And it's been very difficult to deal with, to say the least. Meanwhile, had he done it the right way, I have a whole development for sale up the street that needs 300 houses built in it. So he gets my paycheck on this one house, did bad work, bad check. He probably won't make much money off my house either, honestly, after all the back and forth we've had to go through and everything else. But had he done good work, he'd have got solid pay, because just right around the corner, I got a whole neighborhood I need built. And you know what? He doesn't know that. Because I didn't say, hey, if you do a good job on this, I'll get you that. We just got halfway through this and that popped up. And I'm like, well, I know who's not getting it. I just try to, every day of my life, I'm trying to draw examples of how these apply, Take your stand with God's loyal community and live, or chase after phantoms of evil and die. God can't stand deceivers, but he relishes integrity. That's why integrity is our number 2 core value. God takes care and blesses those that are responsible and those that have integrity, those that go above and beyond and serve, and those that are committed to excellence. Excellence isn't synonymous with perfection. It's just trying. Excellence is never achieved, in my opinion. It's like, hey, I did that with my best ability. That's what excellence is. And that always gets better. Like a gold ring in a pig's snout is a beautiful face on an empty head. I never understood why they put gold rings in the pig's snout. That was like the original Instagram flex for like kings. Look at my pig. I am so rich it has gold in its snout. Think about that. That was like, had they had pictures back then, they'd have been like taking pictures with their pigs and stuff. The desires of good people lead straight to the best, but wicked ambition ends in angry frustration. The world of the generous gets larger and larger. The world of the stingy gets smaller and smaller. This is what we're talking about. The reason why it works this way is the world of the generous. Generosity and abundance go hand in hand. And if you're generous, again, it's that karmatic thing that we're talking about. What you sow, you shall reap. And so the world of the generous gets bigger and bigger because they're sowing more and more, right? If you have more to sow, then you have more to reap. And if you have more to reap, then you've got more to sow, and so on and so forth. It's the cycle. The farmer, I'm a rancher, I can talk about this now. It's the cycle of the way the earth works, but it's how everything on this earth works. And here's the great part of that, as it continues to grow. But guess what? If you take, you're taking part of the pot, and you can only take so much every time before eventually it runs out. That's why in America, most generational wealth doesn't make it to the grandkids. It makes it to the kids, never sees the grandkids. It's gone by the second time. No matter how much. The Vanderbilts, they've been out of money for a long time. That's why Anderson Cooper got a TV show. He got to go make his own money. His mom spent it all. That's the Vanderbilts. They were like the richest people. They were like the Bill Gates of their day. It lasted 2 generations. And Anderson, he's on TV for like 300 grand a year. He probably makes more than that now, but that's how he started. So the world of the generous gets larger and larger. The world of the stingy gets smaller and smaller. The one who blesses others is abundantly blessed. Those who help others are helped. I always ask this every night at family prayer time. We do the family huddle at my house. We always say, Lord, bless us so that we can be a blessing to others. Every night, tell my kids, they say their praises and prayers. I say, God, please give us wisdom and continue to bless this family so that we can be a blessing to others. Curses on those who drive a hard bargain. Blessings on all who pay fair and square. Man, I know most of you in here, like if Travis says, hey, this is my services, how much it costs, cool. I'm not that good of a negotiator because I don't want people to do it to me, first of all, because I've already given you a fair price. I'm not in the rip-off business. You know, so I assume we are how we are, so I assume people are that way as well. Plus, think about this. When's the last time you got a bargain and that stuff ended up being a nightmare because they didn't do their job right and they cut corners? And the one who seeks good finds delight. Student of evil becomes evil. A life devoted to things is a dead life, a stump. A God-shaped life is a flourishing tree. Here's the crazy thing about trees. Turns out money does grow on trees. Apples grow on trees, lemons grow on trees, pecans grow on trees, right? Like, it turns out money does grow on trees, things that we can exchange for money, okay? And so, but here's the thing. If you measure who you are based on the things or the amount of income you have, that's a hard life. I've been there. You know, when I've been the person when I don't have money or when I'm running low on my business, I'm like, oh man, I have a low self-worth and a low self-esteem, and then start making some money and I start feeling better about my confidence. Like my bank account was like a confidence meter in a video game for me, right? But man, once you let go of that and you realize that, hey, I am who God says I am, and I'm here to make an impact everywhere I go. Right? I'm here to make an impact because I sell a good product. I'm here to make an impact because I've got a good network. When you realize that and you stop placing your value on how much money you have, it's good to have as much as you want, right? Solomon was rich. That's why we're here talking about this. But you can't place who you are on that. I read something yesterday, 2 days ago, so simple yet so profound, but blew my mind. It said, you're not who other people say you are who you say you are. And it just sounds real dumb, one of those like, you go have a great day motivational speeches. But I thought about that. It's like, but who do we tell people we are? Who are we saying we are? When we're talking to somebody, and I don't mean, hey, look at me, I'm awesome. But are we telling people, hey, I say I'm a person of integrity. Turns out that's true because I've been saying it for so long. There was a long time, you guys, when I wasn't. I'm out there selling drugs, running the streets, I was not a person of integrity, but I've said it about myself for so long that I don't think you can find one person that I've broken my word with. Not over the last decade and a half anyway. I'm sure they're out there somewhere because I'm a human like anybody else, but I've done my absolute best this last 15 years since I've been doing this to become that person. Because I know if I run out of money and I hit Travis up, hey man, I need X amount of dollars for XYZ, he's gonna be like, hey man, I know you're good for it. You know, when can I get it back? I know your word's good for it because I have that moral character. The one who seeks good find delight. All right, last thing here. Exploit or abuse your family and end up with a fistful of air. Common sense tells us this is a stupid way to live. I think my stepfather is a great example of that. Dude was very abusive to me, and here I am living this amazing life. And I'm sure their life's okay, but it could have been a lot better together. But he's holding a fistful of air. Good life is a fruit-bearing tree. Think about this. Good life is a fruit-bearing tree. I told you money grows on trees. I got a buddy, Frank Kern. He has 15 acres of lemon trees on his property that makes millions of dollars a year, right? And Frank knows nothing about lemons or trees, and or the property. I think somebody just takes care of it and he lives there and it's pretty, but he gets the money from it, right? And these trees, and here's the thing, in the Bible it says, in Psalms 1 it says, may your tree be planted by rivers of living water, okay? And a tree is a biblical measurement of growth. It's a way of saying, may you be a growing organism, right, that's planted, right, where your roots are put in by rivers of living water. I want to translate that into what I think that they were really saying if you spend modern day time, because back then they didn't have the monetary system that we have now. But that tree being planted by rivers, multiple streams of water, right? The water that feeds us now is money, right? Because we got to have money for water. You want a bottle of water, it's $2.99 tax-free, but it's $2.99 at the store. So if we're that tree that's planted, so it's telling us to get planted firmly in God's word and create multiple streams of income. Why would the Bible want us to do that? Why would God want us to go out there and make money? That's absurd, right? No, because if we're following what he's saying here, we get money, we're giving to charities, we're stimulating the economies, we're feeding families, we're generous, we're doing the right things. I think I overpay a lot of the people, if not all of them, that work in our organizations because I want to be generous. I've got this blessing to be able to be a blessing to other people. They'll grow into what we're paying them if we need to. If not, we'll find somebody else. But that's just how we operate here. Because I want to be I've lived a good life to where my tree is bearing fruit. I want others to be able to benefit from that. But if good people barely make it, what's in store for the bad? This is the last verse here. And it's talking about really, in my opinion, like what we're about to go through in this recession. If the good people are barely making it, imagine the people as we go through, and we've seen it, liquidity's drawn up. Interest rates are higher. Now, a couple of years ago, I like using Travis. A couple of years ago, Travis was raising money from me. He could say 8% interest rate, and I'm like, wow, that's a lot of money because CDs weren't paying anything. Now he's got to say 20% to compete in the marketplace, right? And so now he can't afford 20% because he doesn't have the margins on that. The liquidity dries up, and because he didn't keep his word in bad times, now he's not going to get money in good times. So that's what this is basically saying. In times where good folks struggle, imagine the people that didn't keep their word. Imagine the people that didn't have integrity. And what that's doing is it's reminding you in good times and bad times to be a person of integrity. And remember that wisdom is rooted in your decisions, right? The fear of the Lord is the ability to make the right decisions. We look at it as we're supposed to be scared of something. It's not going to come down and smack us. It's not how it works. Life does that for us. And what happens is we make good decisions, we get smacked less often.